Welcome back to the Young Talkers podcast, everybody. These past couple of weeks have been big in terms of COVID, royal family news, and everything. So let's begin with that. The Johnson and Johnson vaccine. This was quite big news, especially with the vaccine race and the new variants making the vaccine race even more urgent at this time. And the United States has stopped the giving out of the Johnson and Johnson vaccines because of the risky side effects such as blood clots. And Gulal or Veer, what do you guys say on this?
Right. In India, the Johnson and Johnson vaccine hasn't come yet, but a lot of people in India, especially, were waiting for this vaccine. But now that they've heard of the side effects of the blood clots and these rare events that are coming up, people are getting more skeptical. And even though they've paused it in the US, they still need to get supply. So yeah, Gulal, what do you have to say about it?
Not much. Johnson and Johnson is no stranger to controversy. They've also been under a lot of scrutiny for their powders, and some time back there were a lot of rumors about it causing cancer for babies. So it was they're not any stranger to controversy, and they really thought they were going to work on a vaccine and perhaps it would help the people, but it seems to be doing a lot more damage than it is actually helping the people. But again,
This is crucial considering many countries, not even in the United States itself and other countries, that many countries with the second wave, they're trying to speed up their vaccination process to get their country vaccinated before a second wave hits, and they're facing vaccine shortages. So removing an entire vaccine from the market really hurts our chances of getting herd immunity overall.
Yeah, I think even in India, coming to that, India, since people have started getting vaccinated, now I think the people over the age of 45 are allowed to get a vaccination. But the problem that's been coming up is at many of the centers by around evening time, the vaccines are getting over. Producing a lot. The vaccines are getting over. So I think recently they've allowed the Russian vaccine for emergency use in India, remdesivir.
Yeah, and that's about it for this topic. Now let's move on to some big news, and it seems like this happens every year here in the United States. Is this cycle of mass shootings? There's this 2 3 week period where it seems mass shootings is like a trend in the United States. With this recent mass shooting in Philadelphia, before that in Boulder, Colorado, and before that in Atlanta. What do you guys have to say on all these mass shootings?
yeah, the recent mass shooting happened in Indianapolis at a FedEx facility,
Yeah.
and that makes it 45 mass shootings this month, only in this month itself, and is not a big contrast to last year. USA over the past couple of years has become quite used to these mass shootings taking place every single day, almost 2 to 3 people getting killed, and some occasions 8 to 10 people getting killed. And that's what people were expecting. That's the reason why the election turned out how it did. People were expecting a change, and that change hasn't arrived yet. And I doubt it ever will, because clearly Biden's campaign and Biden's cabinet is not focused on gun control. Doesn't seem to be a priority to them. Only reaching out to the family seems to be a priority, but nothing getting done about it. So this makes it the 45th like shootings in this month itself, in the last like 30 days basically, and 8 people were killed at a FedEx facility, out of which four were Sikhs. They were Indian Americans, and obviously don't know too much about why the shooter did this, what were his motives, but we do know 8 people were killed, and the police
Yeah,
has.
I think about that, what you said, that right now it's not a priority, but I heard that they recently, President Joe Biden announced a few actions that they wanted against gun violence, but I think he himself said that it's not going to be enough to curb the damage that is going to be done still. And about the FedEx facility, one thing was that they identified the shooter as one of the own ex-employees. So it had something to do with the employee itself who was from FedEx. Yeah.
And the big thing was that this employee had been interviewed by the FBI a year earlier, and he had already told the FBI that in the near future, I plan on committing suicide by cop. Essentially, he means that I will commit suicide through a gun and kill other people. And I don't know how he's ended up slipping through the cracks of the FBI when the FBI knew he was on his radar. They should have been watching him, yet he still slipped through the cracks. He still went to his old workplace and got shot. And in terms of the topic of gun control, the big elephant in the room at the end of the day, no matter how much a president says, I will control guns, I will instill this, is the Second Amendment, which says all Americans have the right to bear arms. And Biden will not be able to instill anything strict because the Second Amendment is in place. It's in the Bill of Rights, which is a guaranteed right. And the thing about the Second Amendment is that it is so vague that if some person may interpret bear arms as all guns, some person may say you're still allowed to regulate it. And I guess the founding fathers did it on purpose, keep it vague and keep it for interpretation.
Yeah, and I think if you all haven't heard about it, Texas recently announced something new. They've announced a more freer and a lot more freedom on the gun law there, about ownership, and basically it's become a lot more easier to own an armed weapon, basically.
Yeah, at the end of the day, America's land of the free and land of the guns. There's a gun store right behind my house, just 2 blocks down this road, where anyone over 18 just gets a simple background check and can buy a gun. And that's what America is for, and that's just what the consequences are for their values, which are
Yeah,
massive.
yeah, absolutely. It's very easy to get a gun. There's also very few background checks required. And I mean, in a lot of right states, it's 16-year-olds have guns in their pockets. It's very easily accessible. And also, if the shooting proves something, it's that this is happening every day. There's a whole list. Shootings are taking place every day. April 5th, the shooting in Baltimore. April 6th, the shooting in Detroit. April 7th, the shooting in Milwaukee. April 8th, the shooting in Texas. April 9th, the shooting in Texas. So this whole list on a CNN page, I mean, it's showing shootings taking place every day, and not just once a day. Some cases twice a day in different locations. It's that easy to buy a gun and kill someone. And also, like you said, the mother of the shooter had warned law enforcement officers that he is mentally unstable, you should do something about it, but they took it lightly, they didn't take it seriously. And there's two problems on the rise in America. There's also been cases of police brutality on the rise past couple of weeks. In fact, army lieutenant was pepper sprayed in the eye for driving in a black car with black tinted windows. And he was pulled over. He was asked to get out of his vehicle, and the cops already had the guns in their hand. So he was very scared, and in order to get him out, they pepper sprayed him. So it's like police has too much power, but at the same time, citizens can easily have access to guns. And I mean, there's got to be a solution to these two problems.
And this is where the entire conversation of police brutality comes in. The problem is that over here, guns are so entrenched in culture that when someone reaches for their pockets, the mind of the police goes to the gun. When in reality, in India, that problem must not exist because number one, guns are not that accessible. Number two, the police often don't have guns themselves. And there have been two recent shootings of, again, unarmed, one of a 13-year-old boy and another of an unarmed black man. And where the unarmed black man, the police officer confused her taser for her gun. If it's a legit excuse, how do you keep your gun the same way as a taser? That must be the first day of police training. Now, let's move on to some pressing news in India, which is the COVID crisis, which has ballooned. Not only it first started off in Maharashtra, now it's throughout the entire country. Kulal and Veer, what's your say?
Yeah, first we've been informing you all past couple of episodes a little rise, going from 300 every day to 1,000, from 1,000 to 2,000, and now at a whopping 8,000 cases per day. And that's not even the tip or the peak of the iceberg. In Delhi, I believe day before yesterday, 17,000 cases. and people predicting it reaching lakhs and lakhs of cases every day by the time we reach May. So, I mean, this is a big surge of COVID cases taking place across India. Not only in one place, started from Maharashtra. Now it's also increasing in Delhi. Now it's also increasing in places in North India and places in South India. So there's only one answer to this. It's just that I'm not surprised. In fact, I was in disbelief when the cases were low, because when the cases were low, people were taking it as lightly as possible, and now we're taking it so seriously, and the cases aren't stopping. They're increasing and increasing.
Right. I think it's really confusing to me because people here complain about not wanting to go into lockdown, but those people who don't want to go into lockdown are the same people who are going outside.
Face like problems. What has happened is a massive infrastructure failure on India's part, where there are literal bodies outside hospitals waiting for beds. And the fact that there was already a wave last year, the government should have been prepared for a second, third wave. But this is just a massive infrastructure failure. Don't you guys think?
I have something to say about that. So, there was news that people who are more affluent are the ones getting more cases. So, people who are more well-to-do, um, and the problem that's coming is that these people are not wanting to go to the BMC hospitals because they find the quality to be insufficient, and they think they are more superior than that, and they are not accepting to go to these hospitals. And I think that's one of the problems that BMC themselves have come up with, and have told people that the beds availability is not actually an issue. It's the people not wanting to be registered to the hospitals.
Yeah, people have been very feckless throughout this pandemic, especially over the month. And now you're seeing like the effect it's having. Cases are increasing every day. Also, at the same time, testing has also risen. So that could also be a big factor in causing a rise in cases, because India
That
was
is
not testing a lot.
And I guess that's good because now you get to actually track the spread of the disease now. And but again, there's still some sense of underreporting because we've had friends in India who say they got COVID, but the people basically told them, because you don't have to go to the hospital, we won't report your case. So we still don't know the real numbers. And the reason why reporting that is important is because those people could spread it to someone who potentially goes to the hospital, and and you need to report those
Yeah,
to
people
prevent.
are laying low, quarantining at home, not trying to go to the hospital. So
Yeah,
everyone's,
but you don't have to go, but still you need to be quarantined and like inform the society around you, because there's a lot of people who've been taking it so lightly, thinking that they won't spread it, and not informing people is, I think, one of the biggest mistakes you can make, and one of the biggest reasons for it to spread also.
Yeah, and now hopefully this is just a wave. And but obviously there's religion is a big part of India, and recently the Kumbh festival still took place despite COVID, and that obviously contributing to the spread.
yeah,
So
politician rallies, everything's taking place. But
Right.
yeah, we had this same conversation 2 weeks ago that, like, at the end of the day, politicians say, oh, you don't want to go to lockdown, don't go outside. And politicians don't get affected by lockdown. It's the middle class, it's the small businessman. And politicians, for them, it's easy because the first thing they open, as we said, is the country clubs where their kids go, is the place where their kids play. And that contributes to the rise, and that contributes to the lockdown. But for them, for the affluent, it doesn't matter, but for the small businessman, it matters.
okay,
Yep.
thanks for tuning in, guys. That was another podcast breaking down events over these past couple of weeks. We had a little break in between, but that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and don't forget to share, subscribe, and like. See you guys next week, hopefully. Bye.